All right, we are live. Welcome in, everybody, to the 8th episode of Consistently Inconsistent Sports. I'm your host, Colin Morris. Joining me today, next to me, Michael Kinslow.
In person.
And all the way down in the swamplands, Layton Markwood, Jimmy Smith. Or is it Jimmy Smith? I can't tell. Layton, how's it going?
Just the first team All-Pro cornerback right here with another pick six. In the swamplands, as Colin said, the Bayou, Biloxi, Mississippi. Michael, Colin, great to be here. Episode 8. Probably should be 10 by now, but hey, we had a two-week gap. Let's throw some content out there, you know?
Shall we kick this thing off?
Yeah, let's kick this thing off.
All right, well, we got our week in reverse. Number 1 pick, Markelle Fultz, Philadelphia 76ers, having some shoulder drama. Initially, reports come out that he had his shoulder drained, and then his agent came out and said, actually, he just got a cortisone shot in the shoulder. Looks like we're really just going to be seeing Ben Simmons at point guard. Not too much to go on there. 37-year-old Dwight Freeney signs with the Seattle Seahawks, giving them a little depth on the defensive line, a little outside linebacker help. And also in the world of esports, Cloud9, $5 million funding round, which included a little money. WE.
John Cena.
John Cena pops off to you. Layton, what pops off to you?
Oh, sorry, it was delayed there. Honestly, I'm kind of like confused by the whole Dwight Freeney signing. I mean, Seattle is what, 4-2 right now? 5-2 maybe.
Can't help to add some backup.
Yeah, but what is Dwight Freeney going to add at this point at 37? I don't believe he's played in 2 years now since I think he was last with the Falcons. Didn't really do much there. He doesn't have any speed anymore, and that was kind of his asset in the pros, that speed rush spin move to get past the right and left tackle. And you don't really look at the Seahawks and say, hey, they need some defensive help. Like, that is a team that's really struggling on defense. I'm just confused as to why they're making the signing.
I think it's the biggest reason, honestly, just probably besides depth. I mean, it gives guys a breather every now and then. You know, you throw him in on second, maybe not third down anymore. You know, you might not say he's the third down. He's the guy rushing the passer, but, you know, first or second down after a long couple series, you know, throw him in there, give you guys a couple play break. Might be worth it in the long run. I don't know. That's how I'm looking at it.
You don't think he's going to be a liability out there?
No, not if he's
I don't
just
think he's
a
gonna be a
situational.
liability.
No, he's just become a situational
You know,
pass rusher.
He takes what, maybe 20, 30 snaps a game tops?
maybe 20.
Maybe 20.
Tell you what, hot take right here. I say he lasts 2 weeks with Seattle, max.
And he's out. They cut him.
Yep. Or he retires.
I'll take that. I say he lasts 3 to 4.
Oof.
We got a lot of faith in Dwight Freeney here.
We got a board bet. Put it on the board. Well, Michael,
What about you guys?
Anything in there pop off to you other than
I think it's Fultz's shoulder, honestly. Like I normally go with the esports drama, but that's pretty standard esports drama. Just more money for these guys as it grows.
That's not
And if
drama.
people wanted to get another look at esports, where would they go for that, Michael?
Another look at esports. I mean, we have a new segment.
Yes.
A new segment
A new
from
show.
Consistently Inconsistent Sports Network.
Plug. Shameless plug.
We call it The Meta, all right? The Meta is our new esports-only podcast. We'll be covering everything from League of Legends, Overwatch, CSGO maybe, anything you can think of esports-wise. We're going to try and cover it to the best of our ability. Mainly going to be me and your boy Colin over here.
We're talking about everything from League of Legends to the Overwatch League to Hearthstone to all the shit that Layton doesn't care about.
Yeah, and I'll say we talked about esports probably 2 or 3 times. We've had a few segments on this show, and mainly I've just sat back and listened and not really known what the hell was going on. But I did tune into that first episode of the Meta for probably 5-6 minutes. And even though I didn't know anything that was going on, I could tell your candor and your just passion for it. It really struck out to me. And I love the name. The Meta is a good name. So, and I think you guys had another co-host on there as well. So
yeah, my friend Ben joined us. He's a fellow League of Legends enthusiast and esports lover. So he popped in on that. And we'll probably have other people join us for future shows.
So speaking of Fultz.
I mean, you got to look at it like, was this an issue, right, that he had before the draft? Was this an undisclosed?
He can't even give free throws to the
the
rim.
Did we all see that highlight? It was just it's god awful.
Yeah,
it's so bad. And is this something that after the NCAA, they didn't announce it when he was going to the draft, or is this something that just came up recently? It's one of those things to me. And I think they might not be too happy if it was pre-draft and they never disclosed the injury, because I mean that's a big deal. If your number one overall draft pick isn't performing to the level of a number one overall draft pick, I mean that's a lot of money they're investing in a guy who all of a sudden's got a bum shoulder.
Well, I mean, watching opening night Wizards Sixers, Fultz didn't play much at all. I think he played like 12 minutes out there, didn't touch the ball much, didn't run the point at all. They let Simmons take that, and he played pretty damn admirably, albeit in a losing effort. But I think this is something that Fultz had before the season started, and whether it was something that came out in camp or like you guys are thinking, maybe it happened before he was even drafted. And if that's true, it just continues the Sixers' legacy of drafting injured players and just being completely unlucky in that first year.
Well, hopefully the Sixers can turn it around, because there's a lot of promise on that team, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be sorted out in terms of who plays where and what. Really, if it's going to be Ben Simmons' show or if it's going to be Fultz' show, because I don't think they can run in tandem. I think they either.
I think they can.
Designate,
I think they can.
You need. Well, I don't think running the point. I don't think you can have two guys learning an NBA offense like that and have them both trying to run it at the same time. I think when Fultz is out there, he needs to know that it's Simmons' show, and he might need to be put at the two.
I think Fultz is actually better at the two, and I see this more as kind of a John Wall, Brad Beal situation where Ben
Beal
Simmons is the John Wall. But right, you can run the isolation with Markelle Fultz, and he can still take it to the rack. He can still dish it out. He can make those passes, but he's not your point guard. He's your spot-up shooter. He's your secondary isolation guy, where Ben Simmons is the guy who's going to master that Sixers offense. And I think the Sixers are going to be fine this year, regardless of whether Fultz is able to play a premium role on that offense. Right.
And Layton, if people wanted another look at the NBA, where would they go?
This sounds like a plug. You can check out our other Consistently Inconsistent branch podcast called The Backdoor 3. And we're going to have episode 2 coming at you. I think we're going to do a little live stream with the Warriors-Wizards game tomorrow night. Just because we both have interest in that game. And we're probably going to be at war we will be at war during that game.
Yeah, I will be tuned in for that podcast. That's going to get juicy.
It's probably only going to last probably a half or so before we just get too heated. But we'll give you a full content episode next week for sure.
If you think Mark Jackson and Stan Van Gundy are good, then you haven't heard Layton and I. We are going to bring fire and brimstone at one another. And this is going to be a fun show. Tune in, clock out, and enjoy the future voices of the NBA.
I can promise you two things.
What?
I can promise you two things. It's going to have a lot of passion, and there's going to be a lot of overanalyzation going on. So,
oh my gosh, this is going to be analyzed like it's Game 4 of the NBA Finals, and it's 2-1.
Well, and if anybody tuned in to the 2-game series Wizards Warriors last year, you know this is a good series. This is a good two good teams going at it, and they match up well.
Well, two shameless plugs in one.
How about that?
What can you say to that? Well, let's move on to the National Protest League, or the National Football League, as it's called to others. It's getting to be that time of the year, guys.
We're what, 1/3 in?
One third in. Teams aren't looking good, and where's the first finger you point?
The coaches.
The head coach. So let's take a look at some coaches who might be on the hot seat coming in to the rest of the season. Let's start in Indianapolis. Chuck Pagano. Michael, chances that Chuck Pagano lasts the season in Indianapolis?
I think he's gone. Maybe not before the season end, but I think this is Chuck Pagano's last head coaching season in Indianapolis.
What happens first? Andrew Luck starts or Chuck Pagano leaves?
Probably Luck starts. I mean, they'll probably give Pagano the benefit of the doubt.
Right? I mean, it seems a little unfair. It's not his fault that everybody...
You can't fire the man whose starting quarterback is out for 3/4 of the season. So I would say he's done at the end of the season.
That's kind of due to mismanagement by Chuck Pagano. So I do not think Luck is going to suit up this season. I think he's going to be shut down. I think by the time he's going to be physically able to play, they're going to be well out of the race, and there's not going to be any point in getting him out there. For Pagano, I agree. I think this is it for him. I do think he's going to last this season, but he was not hired by their current general manager. So this is their GM's first year in action. He kept Pagano on because the players love him. He's a good guy. He used to be the Ravens defensive coordinator. He's always been well liked across the league, but he doesn't really have it as a head coach. And Michael, you said that this will be his last gig as a Colts head coach. I say he will never have another head coaching gig in the NFL.
I agree with that. I think if he gets another shot, it's going to be as D coordinator. And then maybe after 2-3 seasons, if he proves he can still be a good D coordinator, maybe someone else will give him a shot. But I think he's definitely just bumped himself down to the coordinator role for the foreseeable future.
I say they fire him. They fire him. Fill in with the OC or DC for the rest of the season. Pray Bruce Arians gets fired, and then fire Bruce Arians.
That's a possibility. That's in the realm of possibility.
I don't see Bruce Arians as really being on the hot seat when you got 37-year-old Carson Palmer and your best player went down week 1.
Yeah, but still, it's
this was a team that was Super Bowl ready.
Yeah, they were ready to win the Super Bowl.
The last couple of years, they were looking for the Super Bowl, and now all of a sudden,
Larry might kind of just be done.
I mean, Larry has been playing so well this year. He's on pace for like 1,200.
No, I mean done in Arizona, just in general.
Yeah, like is Larry going to go ring seeking after this?
Right, kind of like. Well, he already got one, didn't he? No, he didn't.
No,
he lost to the Steelers.
He played.
Yeah,
I don't think
the cover of Madden though.
He did get the cover of Madden. He split the cover of Madden though.
Split it. He didn't even get a whole cover.
I don't think Larry's going anywhere. I think he's a pretty loyal guy, and Bruce, I definitely think he's going to be staying. But still, Arizona is not out of it. They got Adrian Peterson. I think they're 3-4 or 4-3, one of those two.
Yeah, one of those two.
And it's not like Seattle is playing extremely well. It's not like St. Louis has overperformed, but it's
Angeles.
Los Angeles, get out of here.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. The Rams. It's not like the Rams are like. Do we really believe in the Rams? Do we really believe in Jared Goff?
Yeah, I kind of do actually,
dude. I believe in Todd Gurley.
I believe in Todd Gurley, and I believe in Sean McVay.
I believe in Cooper Kupp.
Do you believe in Sammy Watkins?
Every day.
No.
As long as he's high.
He's terrible.
Forever and always Sammy Dropkins.
I'll tell you what they do need to do is they need to completely remove Tavon Austin out of that offense and insert Pharaoh Cooper.
Dude, Cooper brought that kickback. That was sweet.
Just put the ball in his hands, guys.
That was the talk of the office, actually, earlier this week, because our director of stadium operations, Trevor Manifest, is a big Rams fan, and he gave a shout-out to Pharaoh Cooper.
Well, what about in New York? Ben McAdoo. Is it even fair though? Like the guy's not. He doesn't even
Half
have
of his team is on IR.
The whole offense is gone.
They're gone, and I mean that's an entire team that beat a formerly ranked top 10 Broncos team at home. Well, at the Broncos in prime time. Like
that should have saved his job.
That at least extended his job.
Like 4 days.
Like 4 days.
Okay, but you say his offense is on IR. That's relatively new. They were 0-5 before those guys went down.
That's true.
Yes,
this is true.
yes.
And
Odell
and then they won after they all went down.
And this is you also got to consider what the whole issue with DRC is and him, because apparently that's like a DRC McAdoo issue. That's not like
exactly
somebody else. Apparently that's like just those two are having this quarrel. So if DRC decides to split, maybe that looks really bad for McAdoo.
And you look at this Giants team, they made the playoffs last year. They were a pretty popular pick to not only win the NFC East, but to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
I'm pretty sure our preview show, we had them as one of the best teams in the NFC. I'm pretty sure we said that.
Dang it,
we can go back on it, but I don't think I was ever high on the Giants. But that might be fake news.
I'm pretty sure we talked about them a few times earlier in the podcast. But how many years has he been in New York now?
2, 3.
This is his third year?
This is 3, yeah.
This is third? And I mean, what? They made the playoffs the last 2 years, or did they just one?
Just last year.
Just last year? I think he stays through the season unless all of a sudden they just take an downward spiral. I mean, because they got what? 1 win. Did they win this week? I didn't actually check if they won this week.
I believe they were on bye weeks, so I think they're 1-5.
1-5 right now.
1 win.
Feels bad, man. Feels bad, man.
Or no, I think they actually lost last
Jackson,
week, so they might be 1-6.
That sucks. And Marvin Lewis, Layton, fired. Who should be fired? That's the problem. Who should be fired and who will be fired? It should be flipped.
Two different
It should
stories.
be flipped.
Who should be fired is Marvin Lewis.
And Marvin Lewis will probably keep his job.
No, I think they're both going to get fired. I think Hugh Jackson should. I think Hugh Jackson should still be the coach because he is a good coach. I like him a lot, and they again messed up on drafting quarterbacks, and they went with Kaiser, who just is not ready.
Could have had Wentz, man.
They could have had a number of guys over the past 2 seasons that Hugh's been there.
You could say that for every single Browns draft in the history of the Browns.
Yes.
I'm with I'm with you guys though. I think Lewis will be fired. Hugh should be fired, but he might be.
No, I mean
0-5 right now.
They're 0-7, and I think there's a good chance Hugh actually will be fired after they lose this weekend in London. Apparently,
he doesn't even make the plane ride home.
Oh my god!
Here, stay in Europe, go to Paris, relax a little bit.
It's happened before. Apparently, it's a little bit of a trend where it's like if you're in this kind of situation and you go overseas, this is like the perfect time to just let him go.
Then maybe Hugh ends up in Indy, QB worker just to actually knows who his quarterback is.
Yeah, right. Doesn't
actually
have to do this Browns crap.
Right, doesn't have to draft, doesn't have to worry about scouting or anything. He can let other people fill in the holes around Luck. Actually, just have his only problem being, how can I get Andrew Luck and to put him in.
There's no way somebody's going to give him a head coaching job right after this. He's going to go back to offensive coordinator and maybe even quarterbacks coach.
To waste. There's the shot. That's for sure. Well, let's see players that we think might be moved before the trade deadline.
Which is what, the 31st?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah. So we got a week.
First up.
Does he get moved? Does he stay in New York?
Who does he get moved for?
That's true. Where does he go? I mean, who's looking for a DB? Your team's looking for a DB.
Right now, the Patriots.
The Patriots could use a DB.
Our boy Stephon Gilmore has not been panning out.
But I mean, DRC is being paid well, while New England is paying both Gilmore and Malcolm Butler a lot of money. I don't think they have any more funds to throw into the secondary.
Well, it would be more of just they have to move.
You think they'd move him though?
I don't think they move him. Patriots are savages.
I don't think so.
Care about the W.
Maybe not the Patriots, but I think he could be a possibility to move if a team is desperate enough at that position.
It would be a contender, though. I mean, if you think teams just getting smoked that are going to end up in the playoffs.
I mean, maybe Carolina is a team to look at.
Carolina, maybe because those DBs are so young in the secondary. A team like Atlanta, just for depth,
maybe depth pick. I mean, he wouldn't even be depth though.
He could start.
He could start in
He
Atlanta.
could start in Atlanta. Texans, maybe. I'm just throwing things out.
He's one of the long shots we have on this list.
Yeah,
I definitely think though. I mean, maybe the second cornerback spot at the Cardinals. It's never
a possibility. But they just signed AP, so how much cap room do they have left?
I don't think he was that big of a deal.
Is he on I think he's on a 1 or 2 year deal.
It's like a 1 year deal, like max $4 million.
Yeah. Possibility.
The move I think definitely is probably going to happen is going to be when Joe Staley gets traded to the Eagles. That. They could still be in contention if they sign Joe Staley. Boom! It's like last Sunday never happened.
Carson Wentz might even shell out the money himself.
Yeah, he would
for
pay
Joe
for
Staley.
It. Yeah, he would say, "Here,
take my next 10 game
10
checks
mil.
and
Go.
Please protect me."
Take it.
I could definitely see that actually. Now that you bring that up, they do need help on that left tackle without Peters, and Joe Staley could definitely fill that void. Although the only issue is that Staley is a very, very good player, which means he's going to command a hefty return. And I'm not sure if the Eagles are really going to want to put that on the table when they are really
lineman. Here is how the Eagles should view this. He's a lineman. They could trade a 3rd round pick and an okay young defensive player who hasn't quite started yet and get away with it. 3rd and a 6th.
You got to think about how old is Staley now, though? Isn't he in his 30s?
Yeah, he's in his 30s.
Do you really have to give out this monstrous contract for a guy in his 30s that's
33,
pretty much finishing up his career? Is it too much to ask?
Well, here's the top story from the Niners coach. It would take a lot to trade Joe Staley. And I don't think a 3rd round and a 6th round is going to get
nothing
done.
to do with that decision.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure John Lynch has that decision. Not
John Lynch has
not Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan
does not.
Here's where Kyle Shanahan matters in San Francisco.
John Lynch is
John Lynch.
No, but John Lynch put all his cards on the table by signing Shanahan, so they're kind of neck and neck. Like, that is the future of San Francisco, so they kind of have to be on agreeing terms here. Especially with John Lynch having no prior experience in any front office work, I think he's going to take a lot of the advice that Shanahan is going to give him.
That's true, but you also got to think there's a point where you're like, Kyle, the team is garbage. Joe just makes it bag of trash.
Joe just makes it so it's not 5 sacks a game. It's not 10 sacks a game. It's only 5 sacks a game.
So, is pretty much the first pick.
If anything, it helps you get worse.
Right? It helps you beat the Browns.
Right.
In the race
it helps
for
you win the race.
It helps you win the race for the one pick.
Turtle, not the hair.
Right? So, in the long run of them trying to rebuild this team, maybe making the move is in their interest.
I'm just thinking more on the Eagles front. Like, they are a very young, up-and-coming team, and I don't think I don't think they truly believe right now that they're a Super Bowl contender. They may have the best record in the league right now, but I think it's more of an aberration than it is them being a truly, truly elite team.
Okay, then here's somebody who should go to a contender. And I'd love, and I have an idea, and I think you guys are gonna like it.
Oh gosh.
For Carlos Hyde, Houston Texans. I think that makes the Texans a legitimate AFC South contender, and they could possibly make it to the divisional and conference championship with Carlos Hyde and Lamar Miller.
Yeah, that would be a 1-2 punch for sure.
I like their 1-2 punch right now with Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, but you could have Carlos
It's not
Hyde.
Carlos
It's not
Hyde,
Carlos
though.
Hyde, though.
I would take Lamar Miller over Hyde any day of the week. Lamar Miller is one of the most underrated backs in the league. He was heavily underutilized in Miami, and Houston knew that, and that's why they shelled that money at Lamar Miller. And he's played exceptionally well with that team, despite a very poor offensive line.
It would never happen. I just had the thought, oh, Seattle, but it would never happen.
Niners aren't going to be wheeling and dealing to the Seahawks.
Hell, what about the Ravens?
Well, how about Seattle cutting their best running back and letting him wander over to Baltimore and just leading the NFL in yards per carry?
Yeah.
He's running like a monster tonight, too.
He was running.
And Tony Romo was all over him, just like, oh, that's the Irish dancer. Oh, that's the Irish dancer.
Fun fact, Michael's sister danced at the
Same Irish dance school.
Oh, fun fact, apparently Alex Collins in the offseason does Irish dancing to work on his footwork.
Did you hear that during the game? Because I think they said it like 12,
Yeah, a few
15
times.
fucking
Oh, yeah. In case you guys didn't know, Alex Collins practices his footwork with Irish dancing.
Is it in the building next to where Jimmy Graham plays basketball?
Is it Northern Irish or just regular Irish?
Wait, yeah. Did you know Antonio Gates used to play basketball?
I hear he did.
I hear Jimmy Graham also used
Yeah.
to play basketball. On the side. Does Three Fingers get moved?
No.
You think JPP stays? What if even if they keep losing full on downslide, JPP stays?
They built that team around that defense with Olivier Vernon and JPP, and that's supposed to be their dominant. That's their dominant factor of their team. If anyone's going to go with the Giants, it's going to be Eli Manning.
All right, so Eli Manning. If the Giants are wheeling and dealing Manning, where does he go? Colin mentioned a possible opportunity earlier today. It took one shot to the head from a Kiko Alonso.
No, fuck no. I do not want Eli Manning on my roster. Never, ever.
Look at Colin.
Never.
He is.
That was another Colin.
That was another Colin. That was
3 hours ago.
that was a we beat. Nothing, and I feel like shit about it.
That's my quarterback.
It's like
That's
the
my quarterback.
Like the saddest win of all time.
Seriously, how do you win 40-0 and you're not even like happy about it?
It's the magic of the NFL right there. That's some Roger Goodell shit.
What about Dez? Is that Dez?
No, that's Martavius.
Martavius Bryant. Right. I was like, Dez.
So the Steelers for Martavius Bryant have said they're not looking to deal him. This has kind of gone back and forth between this. I want to be traded, and then all of a sudden he seemed like he was joking about it. But then
he wasn't joking.
But then they demote him to the practice squad. Like
he got
scout
pissed
team.
off that Juju got more snaps than he did.
So it's
but he
like
got more routes.
It's like so he clearly does want to be traded, whether he says it or not.
I think you should go to New Orleans.
Right.
You think Drew Brees could need
I think you should go to New Orleans. I think Brandon Cooks wasn't who they thought they were, and who they thought he was, and
who they thought they were.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly. And I think Martavius would help open it up a little bit.
So all right, so say you're an NFL GM, right? And you got Martavis Bryant, an extremely talented player, somebody that has poor work ethic. In fact, apparently before this offseason, he had never done any offseason work whatsoever before training camp. Like during the offseason, he went home, he partied, he did whatever he wanted, and then he came to work during training camp. And then this year, the Pittsburgh media was all over him like, oh, this guy is in here working. He's coming to all these offseason drills. He's going to be great for us. He's coming off the suspension. He wants to win. Then he gets some drops in. He starts losing some snaps. Juju Schuster is playing well. And then next thing you know, Bryant gets demoted. Now he's on practice squad. He's going to play minimal snaps. But if you are a GM, why are you going to trade to a guy who has missed the majority of the last 2 seasons on suspension? A guy who complains when he gets back, acting like
we seem to have lost Layton. Oh, Layton, you cut out.
You still here? Did we lose you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we lost you for a second.
Where'd you lose me at?
You were saying if you're a GM, why would you sign him after missing like 2 seasons and then the off-season work ethic?
So you're looking at this guy. He's essentially missed the last 2 seasons on suspension. He comes in, starts losing snaps, starts complaining about his role, acting like the team owes him anything for not being out there with his team, for screwing up
him so much. Well, wasn't his touchdown to snap percentage or to catch percentage like ridiculous?
Yeah, he is an extremely
talented player. 6 touchdowns to 15 receptions.
He's like this year's Will Fuller. But as a GM, you're looking at this guy who clearly doesn't seem to get it. You're not owed anything in this league just based off talent. And if you come in expecting to be the guy after missing 2 years on suspension and then complain about losing your job, who is going to make a trade for him? That is a terrible locker room asset, right? Not an asset. That is a terrible locker room player right there.
Locker room cancer. He's a sore in the locker room. I don't think he is truly desperate at wide receiver like the Giants seem to be. I don't think there's going to be many that are going to be Colin.
I think some of the teams that are going to want to call are in their own division, like the Ravens and the Browns, and Pittsburgh is not going to make that trade.
I mean, the teams that know what he can do, but whether or not the ref just ate it in the game.
The ref just ate shit in the Pelicans Kings game.
I just don't feel like there's gonna be that many teams wanting to look for him, and the ones that are might not get the best reception from the Steelers about it.
Well, let's talk about Cap.
You got to talk about him and people that are going to move. Technically, he wouldn't be a trade like we're talking about, but is he going to get a job somewhere? You got to think.
I'd give him a job right now.
You got to think what the teams that are missing quarterbacks right now: Arizona, Miami, Denver's looking shaky. Does Trevor keep playing like crap? Who knows?
Paxton Lynch is hurt. Paxton Lynch.
Paxton is hurt. Chad Kelly is hurt. So Brock Osweiler. Do we really want Brock Osweiler starting? I don't want Brock Osweiler starting. I'm a fucking Broncos fan. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is down. Brett Hundley starting, and then Baltimore. Does Joe Flacco come back in 2 weeks, perfect, healthy? We don't know yet. So could Cap go to any of these teams or others that might be looking for quarterback help?
Well, Baltimore is an interesting throw-in because they were actually the closest team to actually signing Kaepernick before the season started. They actually brought him in for a workout and had a deal penciled in until Cap's girlfriend posted that ill-advised tweet featuring Steve Biscotti, the Ravens owner, as Leo DiCaprio from Django, and Ray Lewis as Samuel L. Jackson, otherwise known as the House Slave. And once that tweet was posted, that contract was torn up to shreds. But Kaepernick had this word of
$500K, move along, and let's act like adults.
Kaepernick had full support of the team, including Joe Flacco. He was adamant about signing Kaepernick. He said he would love to have him here. And then he even cracked a joke like, I mean, I would love to have Cap here, but I hope he doesn't play well because I'm trying to keep my job.
Yeah, right.
But now with the concussion to Joe and obviously the back issue that he sustained during the offseason, not really sure about his health, that might be an option.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you look at how Ryan Mallett played the rest of the night. I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular.
It was serviceable.
You know, it was
it was like they asked him to throw that first drive he came in. They asked him to finish the drive with a touchdown, and then afterwards they just asked him to hand off and throw dump offs.
I mean, it was what you'd expect from a team who's up 20-0.
Right. But I think with Cap filing that suit against the NFL, I don't think he's going to get signed this season, and I think he's never going to get signed.
I mean, crazier things have happened. Zeke is still playing. I mean, how many times has his suspension been like reenacted?
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, he's kind of suing the NFL, but Cap's suing the NFL for not even letting him. Like, it's a little different. I mean, granted, Zeke is saying that he didn't sexually assault this woman, and Cap's just defending himself for being half black.
And Zeke is still playing.
And Zeke is still playing.
It's like crazier things have happened. So
no, it's a ridiculous situation, and it just kind of shows you that if you're
it's a situation you don't want to be on the wrong side of history of when history looks back on this.
Yeah.
But this is how the NFL is right now. If you're an immense playmaker like Zeke, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. Where if you're a up and down player like Kaepernick who has talent but hasn't really put it together in 4 years, you're not necessarily going to get a shot.
Well, guys, let's drop the puck. Let's hit the ice. Michael,
it's hockey season.
It's hockey season. Take us through the National Hockey League.
So as you might notice, I am wearing a hoodie and a beanie because it finally dropped below 60 degrees here in South Carolina. Try and wear cold weather clothes and still sweat. But because of that, we know hockey season's officially started. And what we're going to look at right now is a couple things. Who's starting hot and who's starting slow. So right now, our hot starts, the two I'm looking at, are the brand new team to the NHL. The Las Vegas Knights are sitting at 7-1. The Golden Knights are sitting at 7-1. And then Tampa Bay, who's been consistently pretty good the last couple seasons, came out the gate at 8-1. So these two teams, I mean, we have a historically good team, at least in the last couple of years, starting out hot. We expected them to start out hot. But what about these Vegas Knights? Are they real? Are they for real? I mean, that's the question here. And we're going to see whether or not they continue this trend. I mean, do you think a new team in the NHL starting with this success is sustainable? And
I think it is, to the sense of that the tier levels of players of what it takes to be competitive in hockey is a lot. There's smaller gaps between, say, like a tier 1 player like an OV or a Crosby, 2 player of a Backstrom.
Yeah.
I know I don't want to go on the same team. Difference between the two of those players in the sense of who they are, but what they contribute to the team. So when you're looking at this team, there's a lot of, I mean, it's vets, obviously.
Yeah, it's a lot of vets.
It's a lot of vets.
Middlemen talent.
Middlemen, but they seem to be, it's not a bunch of new guys that, you're bringing in, and it's not a bunch of dudes in their early 20s. So they've been around the league. They've been around the ice a bit, and they know,
they can play hockey.
They can play hockey.
So, yeah. What do you think, Layton?
Well, okay, so explain to me how this expansion works in terms of their roster, because I am more of an up-and-coming NHL fan. Haven't really followed it much over the years. In the earlier days, I was more of just a Capitals hater, just because other than the Wizards, I've been anti-Washington for the most of my life, just because there was that Baltimore-Washington rivalry. Yeah. So I like to throw shade at the Caps. But really, last year's Stanley Cup playoffs got me excited about the NHL, and especially the Stanley Cup final. Nashville, that environment was one of the most exciting sports environments I've ever seen, just streaming on TV. So yeah, I understand how like NFL expansion works. Tell me a little bit how NHL expansion works. Do they get a broad amount of draft picks? Do they get a set amount of players pooled from other teams, or do they just get a lot of money to throw at free agency?
The Knights made 30 selections in the 2017 NHL expansion draft, added 7 more players and 10 draft picks acquired through 10 trades.
So basically the way it worked was I believe every team will franchise, like, these are our guys
that you can't touch.
That you cannot touch. And then so this is every single team had to do this. I can't remember the exact number, but let's say it was like a five-man lineup that they said, this is, you cannot touch these players. The rest of their players were fair game for this expansion draft. And then they got to pick,
I'm pretty sure Fleury's on this team.
They have Fleury and Sutton. Or
that's
Subban.
Insane.
They have Fleury and
that's
Subban
why, like,
as
goalies,
goaltenders.
Like that's it. Like once you get lockdown goalies in hockey,
so when we're talking about their success, both of them actually went to IR in the last 2 weeks. How long they'll be on IR, we won't know yet. But so maybe the Knights can't sustain this success because their 2 other goalies are rookies in terms of NHL experience, to my knowledge. So maybe they don't sustain it. But back to your question, Layton. Yeah. So each team designates these players, let's say 5 players, and then the rest are fair game. And they do this draft. You said how many players should they pick? It was like 30 players were picked to form their roster, and then a varying number of trades and draft picks were available to them as well. That's how they formed this team, and that's why Colin and I are. It's a team that knows how to play hockey because it's not all rookies. It's they've been on the ice for a couple years at least for the most part, or it's you got these veterans in Fleury and Sutton or Subban at your goaltenders, and that's a great position to have these veterans in.
They got a guy named Colin too.
Spells his name right, 1 L.
And they got Clayton Stoner from the Ducks, my favorite Ducks player.
Great name.
Yeah, so that's how they really pick those players to expand to the teams, and they're in the Western as they should be.
Yes,
they can hold up against that usually pretty heavy Western front for the playoffs because I mean. The West is usually pretty stacked in the top 5-6 teams between Chicago, the Blackhawks, the Blackhawks, the Preds, San Jose is usually up there. So we'll see if they can compete with these teams, fully down the stretch. St. Louis would also be up in there.
So who are some teams that we usually hear about that are not doing
so hot,
that are not living up to expectations?
So let's specifically look at some playoff teams that are not looking so hot right now. We've got Washington, as Layton mentioned, he's been watching Washington for a little bit. They starting 4-4-1. Then we've got the Red Wings, who were a playoff team last year, 4-5-1. The San Jose Sharks at 4-5, and then the Rangers of all teams, the New York Rangers started 3-6-2 so far in the season. So, the biggest one that stands out or the biggest 2 that stand out to me are the Rangers and Washington. What about you guys?
Definitely Washington. I mean, it seems like there's just too much talent. You got America's sweetheart, TJ Oshie. You got the grade 8. I mean, Washington always seems, it just, unfortunately, it's their location. You're cursed in Washington. And until there's a seance for the entire city of DC, nothing will be done for those teams.
And at this point, if you're looking at Washington, you're looking back to last year's conference finals against Pittsburgh. You're looking at that Game 7L.
Breaking news, Blake Griffin just hit a 3 to beat the Blazers to win 104-103.
Breaking news, Blake Griffin is good at basketball.
Apparently, Chris Paul was all the problems. Every problem at the Clippers organization's name is Chris Paul. And now that he's gone, there are no problems in Los Angeles.
Apparently, it had nothing to do with Doc Rivers' love for his son. It was all just...
Right, we were wrong. I totally thought it was his obsession of playing his son. But apparently his son, I knew his son was good. When he hit that shot at Duke to beat North Carolina, I literally scared my mother out of a dead sleep.
Yeah, apparently the fact that Austin Rivers is one of the lowest rated guards in the NBA in terms of PER doesn't hold any weight apparently, and CP3 was the entire issue.
The entire issue.
But to bring it back to hockey, like I said, if you're looking at Washington and you're looking at that just collapse last year against Pittsburgh, and this is 2 years in a row where they've been the number 1 seed in the East, and they've fallen at the hands of the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins, their arch rivals, their nemesis, who it doesn't matter if they're playing in Washington or Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is going to get the best of them. And now they're off to this slow start.
So who do we think is going to be able to bounce back from this and return to playoff form?
I think the Rangers can pull it off, and I think the Caps will make the playoffs. I mean, they're out of all these teams, they're 4-4. I mean, that's not horrible, but for what we're used to, the Caps starting, I mean, they've won the most games the last 2 seasons in a row.
Yep,
I believe they've won for number 1 seed in the NHL just overall.
Right.
So I would assume they're going to make the playoffs again. I think the Rangers can turn it around. I mean, they've been a pretty consistent playoff team the last couple of years as well.
Right, but what I was going to say about Washington is, at what point do you look at this team and say, maybe it's time to blow it up a little bit? Ovi can't get over the hump. Is it time to trade Ovi while he still has immense value?
Do you trade Ovi? I mean, that would be like Pittsburgh trading Sidney Crosby. I mean,
right, but they win Stanley Cup.
That's true. Pittsburgh does win Stanley Cup.
Sidney Crosby has 3 trophies. Ovi
it goes to Los Angeles.
The Kings, that would be a dirty Kings team.
That would be a nasty.
That'd be a dirty Kings team.
Make the West a lot of fun. It already is fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think looking at all of these teams, top to bottom, that's the beauty of the NHL, the MLB, and the NBA. This is too damn early to get a solid read on anybody.
Yeah, there's just way too many games to be played.
And I think Detroit had a really slow start last year as well, and still finished pretty high up there in the playoffs.
So, Michael, 2 teams, 1 East, 1 West, Stanley Cup. You had to pick it right now.
Cup.
Very early.
We're gonna go Tampa Bay Lightning, and God, as much as I hate it, the Chicago Blackhawks.
Layton.
Penguins again with the East, and then probably with the West, I'm going to go. I think the LA Kings are going to make another run at the Cup. They were in the Stanley Cup Finals, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to rebound and bring it back there.
I'm going to go Rangers.
Pulling all the way back.
Pulling all the way back.
All right.
Against the Vegas Knights.
The Vegas Knights in their first season. Can we put this one on the board?
That would be crazy.
Can you imagine a team in their first? Has
that
ever
happened?
Like a team's first professional, besides maybe like the first season of a sport, right? Besides that, a team's first season ever going to a championship.
I know the Panthers made the playoffs their first season ever, and they made it to the Super Bowl their second or third season. So
were these the Jake Delhomme era?
No.
Or was this way before that?
This was the Delhomme era.
This was the Jake Delhomme era.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Delhomme was on that 2004
the Panthers were a
team.
90s expansion team, right?
Yeah, but Delhomme, that was the early 2000s.
That's true.
No, Delhomme played in New Orleans in the 90s. And then Carolina traded for Delhomme.
I wonder who got the better end of that trade.
That's a good point.
Layton.
Okay, yeah, the Panthers started in 95. I'm thinking Jacksonville they made it to the playoffs their first. They made it to the AFC Championship their first year in existence.
That was with Bird.
Or Byron Leftwich.
Was it Byron? I can't remember who was starting then. And then was MJD had to have been there.
No. In Jacksonville's AFC Championship debut, it was Mark Brunell.
Oh my gosh.
That was like
Games
90.
we've forgotten.
That was like 98, 97.
Wow. Layton, take us through the baseball, bud. What's going on over there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute since we've talked about the MLB, and now here we are, 2 games into the World Series, just like all 3 of us predicted, the Dodgers and the Astros. Don't even bother looking back on what we predicted because this was exactly it.
We are living up to our name.
But, I mean, so game 1, you got Kershaw starting for the Dodgers. You got Dallas Keuchel starting for the Astros. And Kershaw, for the past 5, 6, 7 seasons, has been the best pitcher in the regular season in the MLB. And he can't seem to put it together in the postseason. And for him, it's been that 7th inning. That's what killed him. So leading up to this postseason, when he has gone into the 7th inning, he has allowed 16 earned runs in, I believe it's been 4 1/3 innings over 4 different playoff seasons, which is an atrocious ERA.
That's terrible.
I don't have a calculator right now, but those of you at home can do the numbers. It's not good. It's way over 9.
I do math, and that's not good math.
Kershaw came out, pitched a gem, 1 earned run, completed 7 full innings of baseball. And Keuchel pitched an okay game. He pitched 6 innings. He allowed 6 hits, but he did allow 3 earned runs. And then you get later on to the game, and Justin Turner, the man with a beard even longer than Michael's, comes in and blasts his 4th home run of the postseason. And
is this not just the Dodgers script, though? I feel like the Dodgers script is have it be tied until the 8th or 9th, and then Turner whacks a home run for the win.
It's his 4th home run in the postseason, and I think it was his 3rd go-ahead home run of the postseason. All 3 led to victories. So damn. Dodgers take game 1. And then you have game 2, which happened last night, which was one of the greatest playoff games ever in baseball history. And unfortunately, I only watched the first 5 innings because I had to
Colin
tune in
was asleep.
To my Wizards game.
We should bring Gaine in because she watched the entire game and didn't wake me up.
Wow. That's on her because – so I switched over to the Wizards game, but I was still following the baseball game on my phone. But in game 2 – you had Justin Verlander, the late season acquisition from the Stros, who pitched tremendously down the stretch for Houston. And then you have Rich Hill on the mound, who has been a solid pitcher for about 3 years now in LA. And both of them pitched pretty damn well.
Why was he pulled in the 4th?
That's what I'm saying. The Dodgers screwed themselves over here because they pulled Rich Hill in the 4th, and they went through 8 relief pitchers.
They were like, oh, this is going to be done in the 9th. Wrong.
And all that happened was you had the most home runs in a postseason game, in a World Series game ever, 8 home runs. And then you had 5 extra innings home runs, which was the most in any playoff game of all time.
Absurd.
So, I mean, the Dodgers had that 3-1 lead, and then Altuve and Marwin Gonzalez made a couple nice hits in the 8th and 9th to tie it up, send it into extras. And then Altuve again and Carlos Correa with a couple single shots. And then LA comes right back. Kike Hernandez and blanking out on who hit it for the Dodgers, but they sent it to the 11th, and then Houston just hit 2 more home runs. And LA could only follow it up with 1.
Just one. We can't
just
make
the one.
it. I'm sorry, we can't make it the greatest game of baseball ever. Can you imagine if that game kept going though?
Yeah, that was.
I thought it was going to after Culberson hit that homer.
Yeah, it was looking like it could.
Maybe wake somebody up when it's 6-6. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying. Oh wow.
She's not watching this.
But what do we take from this, Layton? My question is like the Dodgers in the rest of the playoffs. I mean, they looked almost unbeatable, and now we have a game like this. I mean, are the Dodgers still the favorite, or because of the pitchers they went through, do the Astros all of a sudden have the advantage for the rest of this series?
Well, so I was shocked by the amount of relief pitchers they went through, and I thought it was like kind of damning for LA. I thought this would really screw them. But talking to a bunch of the guys in the office, including Chris Harris, who's our director of broadcasting and the baseball know-it-all on staff, he told me they've got this day of rest. Most of the guys pitched an inning or less, and they're going to have plenty of rest to come back, and it's not really going to be a factor. So really what you're looking at is LA did lose home turf right here. So yeah. Houston does have the advantage right now, now going back home where this is kind of against baseball rules. It's kind of an unwritten rule, but they have not lost a home game in the playoffs. So I probably just cursed them right there.
It's over.
Well, hadn't every home team won until last night?
No, that was just in the Astros. That was just in the ALCS.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I think
this is going 7. I think it's going to be good.
Exactly.
I think this is going to go down as one of the best World Series that nobody asked for. And this is looking some repeat offenders over the next couple of years. Like this might turn into something where the Dodgers and the Astros are playing, and this is not the last time we're going to see this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the Astros have an incredible farm league, and their core is so young. And then LA just spins with the best of them. They've had the highest payroll in baseball for 3-4 years now. And I don't really see that changing. So, yeah, Colin, I see what you're saying. I think this is going to be a matchup that might happen pretty often in the next 5 years.
So who wins it?
I think the Dodgers are just the team of destiny this year. Despite the slump they have.
Got a 22-game losing streak.
Despite that, despite that slump, they started so well. I mean, I think they're the team of destiny.
It'd be great for Houston if they won it.
Though. Yeah, like I personally kind of want Houston to win it. I think that'd be really cool, especially with the whole flood, the hurricane stuff. I think it'd be cool for the city to win it, but I think the Dodgers are just more built to do it this year.
I think the fact that Houston was able to get Game 2 and in turn it's probably going to enable Verlander to make a start in Houston, which is going to be pretty much an absolute win for Houston. I think that's
6, right?
Right. And I think that's going to lock it up. I think it's going to go 7, but Houston is going to take this series.
I'm taking the Stros. I want the Stros to win. I think they'll win. If they can get both of these home games, wow. But getting away with one, feel a little more confident in yourself. You feel like you can you can go into LA. Hopefully it's not 108 degrees again.
And you look at some of the veteran bats on this Houston team. If Gaddis can start to light it up, and Reddick and Marwin Gonzalez
and McCann
on top of their young studs, Altuve, Correa, I think it's just going to be too much for LA to come back.
I hope that we just don't see this pitching become an issue for LA where they did blow it.
Yeah.
Because then we just don't get competitive games and everything comes back to this one mistake that they made. And,
Yeah, I mean, Maeda is the only guy who really had like a lengthy run in the bullpen. Most of the other guys pitched to like 3, 4, 5 batters. But Houston clearly has the worst bullpen of the two teams.
I mean, you got to think you have to win with Verlander in.
Right.
And hope to steal another game when he can't play.
But now you have Game 3 in Houston, and LA's got a big chance here because they have the superior pitcher right now because they're going to have Darvish starting Game 3 against Lance McCullers Jr., who's a solid pitcher. But
And Wood
Darvish,
starts game 4.
what's that?
Wood starts game 4.
Right. Yeah, Alex Wood is going to start game 4. Most likely. But Darvish is an elite pitcher when he's at the top of his game, and McCullers Jr. is just a solid starter.
There you have it. We got 2 for the Stros and a lone wolf with the Dodgers.
Well, guys, that brings us to the segment where we just get to talk about some shoe porn. It's time for your Kicks of the Week. Coming in with our baseball theme with some custom cleats worn in the World Series for Correa. Houston Astros, Layton, what do you think about these cleats?
Houston, baby. It's the 6. Rocket Town. What's the other name? What's the other nickname for Houston?
I have no idea.
Is it Comeback City? Something like that. But
Something like that.
I like them, man. They're different. They're bright, and they're clearly repping the hometown.
Let's see. I'm a big fan of these of the Dodger ones with the beard. Both, and then got the Dodger blue. I like that Adidas has gone with this whole like make your own shoe thing. Be your own. Like kids are going around taping their Adidases.
Dude, it makes me think all the Louisville recruits are going to get shoes like this in the future.
Oh my gosh.
No, I mean, if
I'm just gonna hand them blank shoes and be like, "Here, make your own."
Right?
If I had to choose between the two, I would go with LA. I mean, they've got a more clean look.
Yeah,
right.
It's got a cleaner look.
But if you're going for weird shoe, the Stros definitely take the color.
Like, if you
like the stitching around the ankle, like that's cool looking.
If you want an eye-popping shoe,
yeah,
the Houston shoe is definitely more eye-popping.
If you're trying to pop like Rihanna and the Met Gala, you're going with Houston.
Well, guys, that's episode 8, the Ocho of Consistently Inconsistent Sports. Don't forget to be on the lookout next couple days for the live stream of the Warriors-Wizards game featuring Warriors superfan Colin Morris and Wizards superfan Layton Markwood going head-to-head.
And where can they catch that?
That's going to be on this channel. When's the game, Layton?
I believe it's going to be 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central.
You can catch that right here.
ESPN, I believe, also.
You can hit me up, or you can see that here on the Consistently Inconsistent Sports YouTube network.
I tell you what, can we have it where the game is? That's probably violating legal rights, but can we have it where the game is being streamed here and it's just our voices kind of commentating the game?
We can do that on Twitch.
Yeah, YouTube would cut that one down pretty quick, but Twitch would probably be fine.
Well, we'll look into it.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out. So,
well, Layton, where can the good people find you when not here or on the back door? Oh, I'll let you promote that.
Right. Well, if you want to listen to another podcast, maybe you're a big NBA fan, you're going to want to listen to Colin and I's new podcast, The Backdoor 3. Kind of highlights our inexperience in actually playing the game, but our superior experience in analyzing and passion and love of the game.
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Can't lose.
Thank you so much.
Shout out to Friday Night Lights.
Shout out Coach Taylor.
Yes. But no, if you want to catch me on the Twitter sphere, it's just Layton Markwood, Layton. You know the rest.
Michael, in the house today,
In house
person,
today, in
watching the
person.
Ravens win 40-0, lose the soul of our team, but the defense came back. Thank you for joining me for dinner, for football.
This is what we do.
It's what we do on Thursdays.
That's what we do. I'll always be here.
And I'm Colin Morris. I'll be your fanboy. Saturday, 4 p.m., Carolina Gamecocks playing the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Go Cox, baby. You'll find me in the stands. You'll find him on the field. You'll find Layton watching remotely from the swamp.
Yes, sir. And just a shout out at our Gamecocks, currently number 2 in the SEC East, went out.
Technically third alphabetically.
Yeah.
Number 2 in our hearts. Number 3rd alphabetically.
But went out, and a little help from Florida against Georgia, and we'll see you in the SEC Championship, Bama.
Oh, God.
Could you imagine that slaughterfest?
Oh, if we somehow beat Georgia and go to the SEC Championship game,
We're going.
I'll be at the game.
I'll be at the game.
I will.
Oh, yeah.
Bama
We'll be at the game.
Would steamroll us. I would be happy nonetheless. You know, we get to see the new Atlanta Dome or the new Georgia Dome. You know, I'm making the
Mercedes-Benz. What is it called now?
Superdome.
Is it the Superdome?
It can't be the Superdome.
Georgia Dome?
It's probably just
It's
the
probably
Georgia
just
Dome.
the Georgia Dome.
Yeah.
Dude, the best part, the game would be on Saturday.
And we can have Chick-fil-A!
And we can have Chick-fil-A in the Georgia Dome.
The only time all season.
Right?
No, dude, I remember when that came out and then the schedule was already released and somebody said, man, that Thursday night game between the Saints and the Falcons is going to be lit.
Nobody's going to be getting concessions anywhere else.
No, the Chick-fil-A line is going to go all the way around the stadium.
They're going to have one camera one screen in the dome screen circle thing dedicated to the Chick-fil-A line. So you can
hilarious. That'd be hilarious.
Well, guys, thanks for joining me. And everybody, we're going to go back to this Wednesday thing, so you won't miss us again.
We'll hopefully be back on schedule now that we're all situated.
Yeah, now that we're all good and everybody's moved and everybody's where they're going to be. Tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you later.
Peace, everybody.
Go Cox.
Go Cox. See ya.
Go Cox.